Hello, Michelle here with My Designs in the Chaos, where it's my goal to develop, encourage, and grow your crafting talent and confidence. You should be able to hear me good now that I have my AirPods in. So I apologize if you caught the first one and it didn't have any sound to it. So give me a comment below and let me know if you can hear me okay. The way that we are currently developing, encouraging, and growing your crafting talents and confidence is via our 30-day series called the Daily Dose of Design. And today we are on episode number 6. If you would like to get these episodes directly to your inbox, make sure to click the link right up above. And you can have these directly to your inbox. Yes, exactly. You can hear me now. Yay. Oh, goodness. Technology, right? Technology. So, Daily Dose of Design, episode number 6. And again, if you find value in these Daily Dose of Design videos, I would appreciate if you sprinkle the love a little bit around Facebook. So, that's really, really valuable. And I appreciate you. So, let's go ahead and let's dive in to, it looks like we are all working now. So, let's go ahead and let's dive into today's question. Today's question comes from a community member who sent me a message and an email, and she said, "Hey, Michelle, how do I get organized when it comes to designing? How do I make time? How do I know what to work on? Do I use a planner? How do I get organized when it comes to designing?" She asked all the questions, and I think these are things that we all wonder, right? Because we're all so busy. It always feels like, there's a million things going on. Now, in my business, there are more things that I do other than just design, right? That's for any business owner. I also create tutorial videos, and you have all the back end stuff that you have to do. But my absolute favorite thing is to design, which is why I love this question so much about how do I get organized when it comes to designing? Because so much of it comes down to planning it out. Okay. And so, yes, I am safe from the weather. We had all kinds of crazy weather this morning. My kids' school was delayed. It was really wild, but we are safe and sound now. And it's actually turning out to be a beautiful day outside. So, and let me put up the email. So if you would like to shoot me an email that has your question in it, I would love for you to do that, because again, all of these are coming from questions from y'all. So again, if you have a question that you would like for me to answer in this 30-day series, the Daily Dose of Design, shoot me an email right there at info@mydesignsinthechaos.com. So again, today's question: how do I get organized when it comes to designing? How do I make time? How do I know what to work on? And do I use a planner? So let me give you my best tips and tricks for how to get organized around the time that comes with designing. Because like I mentioned, designing is the absolute favorite part for me of my business. I love being able to sit down and bring my ideas to life. It's really fun, it's relaxing, and I really have a good time with it. Now, let me say the number one thing before any of the other tips that I'm going to give you, the number one thing that you have to have in place, you gotta have muscle memory of the design software. That has to be number one. And what I mean with that is you have to be able to know how to make this idea happen, because that is where your brain then is not trying to figure out, how do I do the software and how can I be creative with this design? Your brain then has the flexibility to be more creative. So you've got to get the muscle memory down. So get comfortable in the software first. Once you're comfortable in the software, then you can allow your creativity to take over, because then you're not trying to figure out, what button do I need to click and which thing does what. Your brain already has that part memorized and you're able to be more creative. So that's number one. You've got to get your muscle memory in place. Oh, I'm so glad, Debbie, that you are enjoying these. That's really encouraging for me. So number one is you've got to have muscle memory of the design software. That frees up the creative space of your brain to be able to have a little bit more room to flow. So you're not worried about the how-to, you're more worried about, what do I want this to look like? Okay. The second thing is I like to design in blocks. Now, when I say design in blocks, what I mean is my time. So I'll say, for example, Monday, all I'm going to do on Monday is I'm going to design files because I find that once I'm in the software and once I'm designing, it starts to flow. Whereas if I do one design and then the next day I'm doing something different, or 5 minutes later I'm doing something different, and then I try to come back to design, it can really create a barrier and I'm no longer in the flow of what I'm creating. So the second thing I would suggest is design in blocks. So maybe you say, for the next 2 hours, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to design. Or today, while my kids are napping, I'm going to only design files. I'm not going to answer customer emails. I'm not going to, go do the dishes. I'm not going to clean my craft room. I'm not going to come up with a project idea. I'm just going to sit down to design. And once you can have that flexibility to just be in that space, your brain is no longer like, oh my gosh, I need to do all these other things. Acknowledge you have all those other things, but realize I'm going to sit down for this allotted amount of time, whether that's 1 hour, 2 hours, one day, whatever it is on your work schedule. I would make sure that you design in groups. Get it a specific time to do it. And then that way, this is my time to design. Well, what about you sit down to design? You say, okay, I've got this 1 hour set aside, and I'm now going to sit down to design. And you sit down to design and you're staring at your blank screen and you're like, I have no idea what I'm going to create. Has that ever happened to anyone? Well, that's why I have tip number 3 for you today. And that is, you've got to constantly be collecting ideas. So even if you're not sitting down to design that day, because unfortunately, I hate to admit it, there are days that I'm not able to design anything. But what I am doing every single day is I'm collecting ideas. Okay. I'm making notes. I'm jotting down things that I see. I'm sketching out something. I'm coming up with an idea and I'm collecting those so that when it's time for me to sit down at my computer and actually design, I have a list of ideas. So I'm not then scrambling like, what do I do? Okay. So number 1 is you've got to have the muscle memory in place. Number 2, design in blocks. Number 3, constantly collect ideas so that when you sit down to design, you have a list of things to actually design with. The next thing is, I want to answer the part of the question is, how do I make time and know what to work on? And do I use a planner? So I do use a planner. I absolutely love Google Calendar. I love it for a couple of reasons. Number 1, then my husband and my family can see, oh, hey, she has this going on, or this is coming up, or this is happening. It's an easy way for us to communicate with each other what's happening or what's on our schedules. So I love Google Calendar for actually scheduling. I use it for all of my programs as well. When you join one of our programs, I put everything on Google Calendar so you can put it on your calendar too. I love that digitally. Because running a business is so much more than just designing, right? So I love Google Calendar. And then number 2, I use the notes section on my phone. So those 2 technology things, Google Calendar and the notes section on my phone. My notes section is full of ideas of things that I want to design for. Now, that could be a theme, that could be a topic, that could be like, an idea. It has a whole lot of different sections to it, but I use the note section on my phone because, like I mentioned, I'm constantly collecting ideas. I'm collecting those in that notes section on my phone. So when I sit down to design and I have that, what am I going to do? I pull out the notes section and I've got a whole list. And then I'm able to pick which one of those items from that list inspires me at that moment, and I can sit down and create that. Okay. And then that leads me to number 5, which is you've got to just have an ongoing list. So while you're constantly collecting ideas, you've got to keep that ongoing list so that you don't ever have that interrupt of, okay, I've got a block and I have no idea what to do. If you've got an ongoing list there, then you can choose like, okay, I've got an ongoing list of nurse designs, an ongoing list of superhero designs, an ongoing list of dinosaur ideas. And so I can sit down and I can say, okay, which one of these inspires me at this moment? Do I want to do an inspirational one? Do I want to do dinosaur ones? Do I want to do nurse designs? And then I have a whole list of them. So when I say that my notes section is divided into sections on my phone and I've got a whole ongoing list and I'm constantly collecting ideas, boy, do I mean that. It is full with things. So then I can sit down and see what inspires me. Okay. So those are my top 5 tips for you. Again, really quickly, muscle memory, Number 2, design in blocks. Number 3, constantly collect ideas. Number 4, I use Google Calendar and I use the notes section on my phone. And then number 5, just make sure it's an ongoing list. You want it to always stay fresh. And then the last piece of advice I have for you is give yourself the creative freedom to just create. So don't always have a deadline or something that you have to create for. Sometimes it's fun to just sit down and play. And that's where you really start to learn and grow and develop your own personal style. So give yourself that creative freedom to just create not because, oh, I have to do this, or I have to do this, or I have to do this, but you're just creating to create. And when you do that and you find that space, the ideas will come much smoother as well. So I encourage you to give yourself that creative freedom. And then the last part of the question is, do I use a planner? And the answer is absolutely. In addition to the digital online planner where I schedule and things like that, I absolutely love planners. I have one too many of them. I have so many planners and I use them for different things. And so I have a planner that I like to write all my ideas in as well, that I organize, that I check off. I have some for our my business coaching group. I have some that I use for our club. I have some that I use for our course. And so depending on what we're focused on in that moment is depending on which one I'm using at the time. So I absolutely love planners. I like to write things down. You'll see I've got like little notes right here. This is the notebook that I am currently using. It says inspo on it. So I love journals and planners. So I've got a million of those as well. So I hope that answers your question today for episode number 6, the question of how do I stay organized when it comes to designing, and how do I make time and know what to work on? I kind of gave you my little guideline there of what I like to personally do. If you have a question related to SVG files or designing, please shoot it over at info@mydesignsinthechaos.com, and maybe yours will be featured. And then I will see you guys back tomorrow for episode number 7. I'll talk to you soon. And again, if you found value in this or learned something new, please sprinkle the love on Facebook. I'll talk to you soon, and make sure to connect with us to get these in your inbox every single day at the link right up above. Bye, guys.